one of my pet subjects is prevention of loss, and one of the things that I realize is that prevention of loss starts with people. But I'm really interested to dig down and to find out what it is that actually affects us that causes the losses in the first place. I want to introduce you to a guy by the name of Keith Robinson. I've got a lot of time for Keith. He's a person who has studied health and safety, and he's also introduced me to the subject of compassion fatigue, which took my interest immediately. So let's go and meet Keith.
Keith. Yes.
How are you?
I'm marvellous, thank you.
Yeah, you're suffering from a bit of a cold.
Bit of a cold, but that's okay.
Awesome. Just been up at the cemetery, and I mentioned there that the subject today is all about compassion fatigue, and you're the person who introduced me to it. But I also lost an opportunity there because I talked about digging down, and we're going to dig down today and probably go 6 feet down.
6 feet down.
That seems appropriate, and excuse the pun. So, Keith, how long have you been working in the health and safety environment?
25 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep. In various different places in different ways. Yeah. Only in warehouses and manufacturing environments. But now health and safety has changed quite a lot. We're focusing a lot more on the people's minds, as well as keeping people safe, as keeping people healthy. The mind, body and soul is a lot more important, a lot more focused on now than in the past, where it was just don't let things fall on you or whatever. So it's that the mental capability of people is sustainable, so it's got to be ongoing as well.
And that's really kind of interesting, because we spoke to another chap by the name of Vern Goomba about 2 weeks ago, and he talked about mindfulness and the necessity of being aware of the mind, body and soul for the overall purpose of understanding our environment so that we don't put ourselves at risk. So you're really coming at it from exactly the same angle, but now there's more emphasis on the health and safety side as well.
Yeah, and compassion fatigue is very, very simple when you think about where it comes from, I guess. Our bodies are natural organisms, and we put ourselves in some very unnatural situations. Like I said, the example that I used, if you think about how many times in your life you would encounter a very sick person, or someone's been injured, physically injured, and they're bleeding or they're groaning or whatever, how many times in your life would you encounter that? 5, 10, 20, 30 maybe in your entire life? Imagine that 30 being all in the same day, because you work in an A&E. And now imagine you're doing that 30 every day. Well, the body's not designed for that, clearly, because we normally only once 30 in a lifetime. And now if you're getting 30 of those every day, the body can't cope. So it has a fight or flight response, naturally. So we either force you to run away or it shuts down. So the body shuts down, and the mind shuts down in some way. And of course, because we work in an unnatural environment, we force ourselves to keep going back to work because the boss wants us back at work and we've got to pay the bills. So off you go back to work and watch another 30 people suffering.
Talking about the tools, and the employer has to recognise the issues that relate to the employees and how he can assist the employee through this time. A lot of people would be thinking, harden up. Remember that lady, we went to did that seminar about a year ago, the car clubs,
Mm-hmm.
and that lady said, harden up.
Yes.
You remember her?
Yes.
And there'd be an awful lot of business owners that'd be having exactly the same sort of response to that. What's your comment to that?
Suppressing feelings and sort of suppressing emotions is not sustainable in the long term. And so if you want an ongoing ecosystem or ongoing system to work, then everything has to be in balance. So as soon as you don't do what you should do, you can do that for a while. You can not exercise for a while. You can not sleep for a while. You can not do what you should do for a while. But eventually, it'll bite you back, right? It's a natural... You can't fight natural laws. If I say I'm going to hold my hand out here, I can hold my hand out for a while, but eventually I'm going to have to put my hand down.
Yeah.
Despite the fact I'm going to say I'm going to put my hand there, and I'm going to leave my hand there for 3 weeks, it isn't going to happen because it's not a natural thing to do to leave my hand there.
Yeah.
You can't fight natural laws. So you can suppress and you can override and you can do stuff to a point, and then it'll break. Something will break. It's like if you're driving, you're tired. You can drive when you're tired, you can drive when you're tired, you can drive when you're tired, and all of a sudden the body says, no, I'm going to sleep now, and it makes you sleep. And you don't even know, all of a sudden you've hit a wall. The body will win. The body is a natural system. So it'll just, oh, I need to sleep now. Oof. Yeah, sleep.
And that's another really important question, isn't it? Because there's an awful lot of trucking companies out there talking about fatigue. But are they really going to deal with it, or is it just cotton wool?
It's particularly hard in the trucking environment because you've got drivers that are often driving at night where the body's not designed to work all night and sleep during the day. That's just not what it's designed to do. So again, you're creating an unnatural process on top of your natural system, on top of your body, and it's again, you need to then, for it to be sustainable, you've got to have all sorts of tools, like make sure you're sleeping correctly, make sure, again, if you're driving at night and you're hungry, well, there's not many fruit shop that's open at 3 o'clock in the morning in Wairau, you know, there's aren't fruit shops, so there'll be burger joints though.
Yeah.
You can stop and buy yourself a Big Mac or something at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's pretty hard to buy a banana. And so the guys that are working funny hours, they're now probably eating badly, and now because they're working funny hours, they get home now, they need to sleep while everybody else is up, so A, their sleep is interrupted, and B, they've now got problems with their family because they're not spending enough time, quality time with the family. When they do see the family, they tell them to shut up so they can sleep, and then they're grumpy because their family won't. And so again, so we're creating all this unsustainable pressure on top of natural systems.
Do you think compassion fatigue can actually compound fatigue, as in, like, I suffer from a certain type of fatigue? If I had compassion fatigue on top of that fatigue, can that actually cause more damage, or is it just a bigger puddle with a bigger problem?
A body can take a certain amount of stress, and the more stress you have in one area, then the less stress you can take in another area before something bad happens, before a breakdown of some kind happens, right? Before the system fails. So if you've got issues in one aspect of your life and you choose not to deal with them or can't deal with them, then you've got less capacity in the other aspects of your life to take bad stuff on. So if everything is going well in your personal life and something happens at work, often you can ride over it or say, well, it doesn't really matter, all the things, my family and my friends and the spouse and all the rest of it. But if you've got crap at home as well and you've got a bad time at work, then you're a lot less capable of dealing with the bad stuff at work because you've got bad stuff all over the place. So it's a matter of keeping all those plates spinning, keeping your life in balance, so that when a bad thing happens, and bad stuff happens to us all the time, we're able to cope because everything else is in balance.
It's kind of interesting because one of my clients was telling me that he was about to fire a staff member because it was the third accident that he'd had. He'd had his third notice of warning for under his employment contract. And I thought, well, wait a second, has anybody asked this guy what's going on in his life? Not at work, but what's going on in his life? Because I'm sure that when people get up in the morning, they don't want to get up and go to work knowing on purpose that they're going to have an accident and go out and cause damage.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want that.
Nope.
So it's sort of like, this is a wake-up call, isn't it, for an awful lot of employers?
Yeah, I mean, using that example, you can go back a little bit further. They've had truck accidents in Northland recently, and they're putting it down to the fact they're having to hire inexperienced truck drivers because there's an imbalance in the amount of truck drivers available for the amount of jobs they've got. And part of the reason is because they're not paying enough. So the system's out of balance. We're not paying enough money, so we can't get enough people, so we hire inexperienced people who have accidents. Well, it's not the driver's fault necessarily, because he needs a job. He's got a job now. He's not getting paid very much, so he doesn't particularly care. The whole system's out of balance. It's about having everything in balance. But sure, once the guy is here, assuming that it is his fault and he has been trained and the vehicle is okay, then yeah, you need to understand what's going on. It could easily be anything. It could be he's got a sick kid or whatever, so he's not being able to. You know, his wife's run off with his best friend, and he really misses his best friend. So he's particularly stressed over something. So there we are. So he's thinking about who's going to go fishing with?
So it comes down to also skills, doesn't it? Understanding somebody's skill base, but can fatigue actually damage somebody's skill base?
It can make someone not aware, or it can make part of the brain slow down, or in worst case shut down, like where you're forced to sleep while you're driving a vehicle and you drive off the road. The body will if you're tired, the body will slow your brain down, and therefore you're going to put your hand in the machine, even though you haven't done it for the last 10 years of you using that machine, just because now you're tired, so your brain hasn't said don't put your hand in the machine, and you put your hand in the machine. It's just how it works. So fatigue is a key part of it, absolutely. But fatigue is the symptom, not the issue. It's that taking time to find the issue, and most companies don't. Digging down the whole 6 feet.
So your advice to an employer, if you were talking to somebody who was coming at you and saying, we got to harden up, what would your advice be to that employer?
That it's not a sustainable approach. Something will break, and legally it's against the law anyway, but the system will break. Something will, and it's not a sustainable approach. In order for you to get good results consistently over time, everything must work. Everything must be as it should be. Everything must be in balance. As soon as something is broken, then you're going to be suboptimal.
So by not paying attention, all they're really doing is increasing the probability of a risk or a hazard occurring and having a loss.
Absolutely, and someone getting hurt and severely hurt potentially, and that affects everything. But we should do this because we care. If we cared about people, then we would do this because we care about people rather than thinking about the business and the continuity and the law and that sort of stuff. If you care about people, then you just do it automatically. But the new health and safety law is here because we don't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, it has been really good value talking to you as always, Keith. And thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day.
You're welcome.
You've got a huge amount of experience, and I hope that the people who are viewing this, listening to it, are really getting to grips with what compassion fatigue is about, what fatigue is about, and the necessity to put a culture into your business of care, because it's understanding that nugget which will assist you to reduce your claims and be in better control and be resilient. And as Keith says, it's all about sustainability. So thanks very much.
Welcome.
Cheers.